Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Fazbear Entertainment would like you to put your hands together for the one, the only, Freddy Fazbear.
Rewritten! Before Gregory could properly react, Freddy had grabbed him and shoved him inside his writing compartment. He barely controlled his horrified reaction, crying out in terror, pushing back on the walls and trying to escape. Shh, shh! Freddy hushed him, making him obediently shut his mouth. He gathered his wits, trying to stay calm, peering at the viewing screen to see through Freddy's eyes. The empty lobby gaped open around them like a cavern, the light dim and the shadows dark. The skeletal, dead silhouettes of attractions stood, watching them, their features indistinguishable from each other. And there, all the way across the main lobby, was where the footsteps came from. Someone was coming down the halls on either side of Monty's area, someone approaching from the deeper parts of the Pizzaplex. Freddy jerked into motion, making Gregory screw his eyes shut again, praying to anyone who could hear him that he knew where he was going. He jumped down the stairs of the pit inside the middle of the lobby, most of the world disappearing in the crisscrossing shadows that engulfed the dip in the floor. Freddy ducked beneath the stairs, most of the world cut off with the edge of the pit. They waited. Gregory was lodged sideways in Freddy's writing captivity, the ankle burning with the stretched cuts. Something was poking into his forearm, which was folded awkwardly above his head, hand cupped against his right ear. He hadn't had time to get situated before being put in here. But the footsteps were still coming, quiet but growing closer. "Be still, Gregory," Freddy whispered through the Fazwatch. "Someone is here." Gregory stopped struggling, instead focusing on keeping his eyes on the viewing screen, trying to see what was happening. It was dark in the shallow pit, but he could see what the pit was here for. It looked like a giant glass tunnel going from one side of the pit to the other, the sides bolted with reinforced metal beams, thin gold chains marking out where a line was supposed to be waiting during the day. There was something in the tunnel, something huge, but it wasn't what Freddy was afraid of. The footsteps of the stranger above echoed across the lobby, soft and padded as Freddy's feet had been, with the extra scrapes of metal against metal giving away the weight of what was moving around. It was another animatronic. It had to be, at least, from how large it sounded. They waited, and waited. Gregory's legs were pinched and sore already, circulation cut off from the arm folded above his head, but he didn't move a muscle. They were approaching the edge of the pit. He held his breath. The strange robot leaned into view. The side of it sent a sliver of ice down his throat. It was a 7-foot-tall white rabbit. Long, folded ears pricked up on top of its head, buck teeth sticking out from the mouth. Its metal plating was thick, the inner workings peeking through the cracks in the shell, the hisses of tiny pistons coming from every movement. It was faced away from them right now, stepping quietly along the edge of the pit, heads rotating back and forth, and Gregory nearly choked on his own spit. Its expression was twisted into a blank smile, the much too large eyes a murderous red. The pupils were slits, not moving in the sockets as it turned its head, the face frozen in place. The white rabbit held itself cautiously, sweeping back and forth, sneaking along with careful, cautious steps like it was hunting. It was then that he realized something else that was off about the rabbit. It wasn't just smiling creepily. It didn't seem to have facial expressions at all. The other animatronics all had a rubbery substance over their intricate faceplates, allowing them to move their mouths and create a diverse range of expressions. But this thing didn't have that. The nose and mouth were permanently etched into a half-open smile. It wasn't overly wide, but he could see the tiny pit of darkness through the thing's open mouth, hiding its inner workings from view. Was it an animatronic? He had no way of knowing. It wasn't built the same as the others. Gregory snapped his eyes shut, unable to bear watching it for a moment longer. He summoned up everything that he knew about stopping his emotions, biting down hard on his tongue, holding his breath, closing his throat. Don't move, don't breathe, don't cry. Be quiet, be quiet. The white rabbit's careful footsteps circled around the pit, meters away. It stood there forever, listening and watching. He began to pick up on a new sound, one that confused him even more. Breathing. It wasn't his. Barely audible underneath, he heard the thuds of a heartbeat. Gregory couldn't tell which direction it was coming from. It was everywhere, all at once, filling the air with its haunting rhythm. Goosebumps prickled over his skin, unable to figure out what it was. The white rabbit made a noise, like a disappointed sigh. Gregory wasn't sure. His head was spinning from lack of air. Then, after an eternity, it left. It disappeared from view, footsteps tapping away. They faded back down the holes that they had come from, leaving the place untouched, like it had never been there. Gregory kept his throat closed for as long as he could bear, and then, finally, he allowed himself a short gasp. He waited again, then let in a few more breaths, brain pounding loud as a bass drum inside his skull. "Okay, I think it's gone," Freddy said, opening up his stomach hatch slowly, reaching in to help Gregory climb out. Gregory gratefully escaped the tiny space, every part of him shaking. Freddy kept a hold of his forearm as he was hit with vertigo, legs wobbling like they were made of marshmallows. Who was that?" Gregory whimpered, keeping his bandaged foot up. I don't know," Freddy said. "I didn't see them." Gregory blinked in a daze up at him. "What?" he said. "What are you talking about? It went around the pit thing, like twice." "No, it didn't." Freddy tilted his head. "I didn't see it." Gregory thought for a moment that maybe he was officially crazy. He remembered the heartbeat that he had heard. He paused, listening for a moment. It was gone now. Maybe this place was getting to him. But there was nothing that he could have pulled from his imagination that would be as unsettling as the white rabbit's dead expression. I'm sorry, sir," Gregory mumbled, but I definitely saw someone. They looked like a rabbit." Freddy's eyes snapped towards him, fixated and bright against the dark. "A what?" Rabbit?" Gregory repeated, holding his arms close, worried that he had said something wrong. Freddy looked away. Something quivered in his face, eyes zipping back and forth at nothing. The Pizzaplex was feeling less safe by the second. I'm sorry," he mumbled, keeping his head down again. I didn't... Maybe I was wrong." "Are you sure what you saw was real?" Freddy asked slowly. "No," he replied, just to be safe. Conspiracies began to spiral through his mind, each one more terrifying than the last, until they landed on the scariest of them all. Was it a ghost?" Gregory squeaked, recalling what the adults had always warned him about whenever it came to strangers. "Didn't the bad Afton guy use a rabbit suit to kidnap kids?" The dread that flashed over Freddy's face made Gregory's heart palpitate. "We need to go," Freddy said abruptly, grabbing his hand and pulling him up the stairs a little too fast for him to keep up. Gregory's eyes were drawn down to the glass tunnel that they left behind, jumping whenever he registered what was inside. In there lied a huge centipede-like animatronic, its boxy head as wide as the bumpers of a truck, hard white shell glinting against the starlight. It was ridiculously large, spider-like legs curled up and folded around his body, pressing tight against the glass walls with barely enough room to shift. Its pale face was muted in the darkness, but it was clear that its eyes were closed, head propped up on its soft-gloved hands, snoring away. Gregory had heard of the DJ animatronic, but hadn't truly understood until now how large of a machine he was. The tunnels looked too small for it. He doubted that the thing could stand up in it at all. But at least it was asleep. It could be big and scary all it wanted as long as it just stayed asleep. By the time that they were up on the ground floor again, Gregory had more time to take in his surroundings. Chica's attractions covered the left wall. He recognized the shadowy edges of some objects, bits of dull gray light half-heartedly casting a few pastel colors into view. There were food stations, last-minute birthday gift shops, all things that led up to her party rooms. On the right was Roxy's galaxy-colored attractions. Everything was in dark, starry purples that blended in with the shadows. There were usually neon colors thrown all over the place, but all those lights were black now, giving the area a depressing haze. There were places to get face paint, places to buy toys of points that they wanted matches, and there, at the back, was the entrance to her laser tag arena, her dark fox face grinning above the double doors. On the far wall was Monty's area, opposite to the arcade behind them. It was decorated with Western-themed wooden frames and iron supports. The rippling backs of plastic alligators were sunk into the floor, which was colored to look like the shore of the oasis that was held inside. Every shadow had a slitted yellow eye peeking out, the fake gators all grinning at him, lying in wait. He had places to win prizes, places to make their own cards color schemes, places to buy snacks to munch on while the kids raced. On either side of Monty's area was other halls, leading to the second lobby, stored further away into the massive mall for now. The whole thing was achingly empty, all the life sucked away and replaced by nothing but gray light and grayer shadow. Figures stood all around, made of metal, their flickers of movement hidden just out of sight. With the emptiness came a horrible sense of wrongness. He wasn't supposed to be here. Existing in this place at this hour was forbidden somehow by the world. He was trespassing on its rest by creeping out here all alone, pretending to belong where he didn't. Something was moving across the lobby. A chill prickled up his spine, stepping back, adrenaline returning. Humanoid figures were hiding behind each corner, leaning over, turning their heads to look at them. Who's that? Gregory yelped, not sure if he should hide behind Freddy or run the other way. What are they? Those are staff bots, Freddy explained, retaining his composure as he gestured to the figures. They clean up the place after dark. Gregory squinted, finding it hard to focus on them. There were at least 4 spread around the lobby right now, each at a different attraction. Soon, his eyes adjusted enough to catch the glint of metal and the outline of misshapen torsos. They were thin, their bases having a set of wheels rather than legs to roll around on. They moved in a much more robotic way than Freddy did, clunky and slow as they restocked the attractions. Their smooth, bald heads didn't bear any features except a pair of eyes. One of them looked over to him, watching them for several moments before returning to his work. Gregory perked up, his eyes landing on a space nestled beside each of the characters' areas. Wait, a fire exit! Gregory said, pointing. Wait, Gregory! Freddy tried, but he'd already sped away, limping as fast as he could. Freddy was following him now, a presence that sent another spike of adrenaline through his system. Much too slowly, Gregory made it across the lobby, ducking behind the different shadowy attractions, finally making it to the red door. He pushed at it, but, to his horror, it didn't budge. No! He stammered, shoving harder at it, fingernails scrabbling over the metal bar as it refused to give. Please, let me out! Those won't open. He whirled around. Freddy's silhouette loomed above him, eyes brighter than the stars above. For a few horrible seconds, Gregory expected for him to lunge down at him. When he didn't, Gregory asked, What? Why? It's a fire exit! Why would it not exit? I'm sorry, Gregory, Freddy said, rubbing one arm with the other. It's a safety precaution. After closing, only Vanessa can unlock the fire exit. She's the only real person in here. Wait, but, Gregory said, still trying to deny this horrible look. What if there's a fire? How are you supposed to get out? We won't, Freddy said, his ears drooping in what looked to be shame. They think that if we leave, we might hurt someone. Something stirred deep in his gut. He felt a little silly for it, though. They were just robots. He certainly wouldn't want to get mauled to death in the street by a giant, not-functioning bear. Gregory stared back up at the fire exit, watching his hopes be snatched away right in front of him. He wanted to get mad and yell and hit something, but he was only growing desperate again for escape. He lowered his head and accepted the dead end. It's going to take a while to unlock the entrance, Freddy said. He put a metal paw on Gregory's shoulder, gesturing around to the other characters' places. To make sure we're ready for the next day, each of our areas has to be run through our use cycle before the doors are allowed to open. The walls began to close in. We have to play all the games? Gregory burst out, his stomach sinking. Yes, Freddy nodded. I'm sorry, Gregory. Gregory's eyes filled with tears for the 100th time in an hour. He put his hands over his face, trying to hide it away. I'm sorry, he whimpered, trying to get a hold of himself. I'm sorry, I'll try to stop. Hang on. No, that's okay. I know you're scared, Freddy reassured him, approaching. Gregory didn't protest this time as Freddy gave him a hug, burying his face in the soft fur, emotion tearing him up from the inside. You're alright, you're gonna be alright, Freddy told him. I promise you're gonna be able to make it through this, okay? Eventually, Gregory gathered enough strength to know that he had to go on. He needed to live, not just for himself. If Gregory didn't escape this and tell the police, nobody would know what would happen to... Gregory sighed, accepting his fate. He leaned away, rubbing his eyes dry, turning his gaze back to the bleak lobby. Can we go to Monty first? He asked, wanting to get the most difficult over with. Freddy hesitated for just a bit too long. Maybe Maybe not quite yet, he said, turning him away from that. We should give him some time to calm down. Instead, he steered him back to Chica and Roxy's walls. Here, they'll be in a better mood. Chica, Gregory said without much thought. She seems the nicest, I guess. If not having a tantrum or a blood ritual in her room counted as nicest, he thought to himself. All right. Good choice, superstar, he said, pumping the same enthusiasm back into his voice. This'll be easy. You'll just have to go in there and fix something to eat in her kitchen. I can instruct you out here through your Fazwatch. Wait, Gregory interrupted. Aren't you coming with me? He shook his head. No, I can't go into the other animatronics areas. I'm not allowed to. What? Gregory looked from Chica's doors to him. But, Freddy, I don't think I can do this alone. I'm sorry, but I can't. I really physically can't. It's a part of my programming, Freddy explained, ears pressing flat against his head in regret. There was an incident a while ago. They don't let any of us visit the others' areas anymore. But don't worry, Freddy said, waving those thoughts away. He kneeled down, a heavy paw on his shoulder, saying, I'm sure you'll do fine. You have nothing to worry about, really. Chica is very nice. Once you explain, I'm sure that she'll be more than happy to help you out. And then a piercing screech cut through the darkness. Security alert! Security alert! Woo, woo, woo! Gregory's stomach dropped into an icy ocean. It was undoubtedly Moon's voice. He'd gotten back up the slide. They exchanged glances. He knew he had to go. Now. You can do it, superstar, Freddy said, giving him 2 thumbs up as he sent him off. Thank you, sir, Gregory nodded, trying to shake off the uneasiness from the nickname. Okay, he told himself, turning back to Chica's area. Nothing to it. If he escaped Moon, he could make pizza. Letting out his breath, Gregory turned to the doors. Above him, Chica's face was depicted, smiling cheekily down at him. The handles were engraved with feathery markings, matching the metal wings fluttering out from either side of the doorframe. Gregory pulled the cold handles open and stepped inside. Hey everybody, this is the last episode of the first act, so from here on out we will finally get another background picture. Thank goodness this one was getting old. We're gonna get to meet Chica next, and I'm really, really excited to show you guys how I improved the sequence of events to make it scarier and stuff. So I'll be able to post the next chapter next Friday. I'm still, successfully keeping ahead of the upload schedule, so, look out for the next episode next Friday. Thank you for watching, everyone. That's all I had to say. Bye!